So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to edit Gacha hair in Ibis Paint X. This tutorial works with any color hair, but it works best with brightly colored hair. And it does work with black and white hair, but your hair might end up looking like a different color because of all the highlights we're going to add. But this tutorial does not work with multicolored hair. So first, you're going to want to create a new layer, and you want to get the brush outline fade. And that little square in the top right corner, you want that to be the color of your OC's main hair color. And if you don't know how to do that, then you just go and select your OC's hair. And then you would go to the hair colors, go to palette, and then that top right square, you would just drag it to anywhere in one of the transparent parts. And then you would just go back to the brush outline fade, and you would just change that to your OC's hair color. And now you want to select your OC's outline, and you want to click on that little finger. I think it's called a stabilizer, and for this video we're going to be calling it the stabilizer. And you want to select these settings. Memorize those settings because we're going to be using that a lot later on. And now you just want to make hair strands on your OC's hair, just like that. You can really make them look however you want. I would recommend mainly having them on your OC's front hair and the back hair. I think it's called the rear hair. You don't really need it on that too much. Okay, and then when you're done, your OC should have a bunch of hair strands like that, which already makes the hair look really good. And then for our next step, create a new layer, and you're gonna wanna remove your stabilizer. So just remove all the settings that we did before. And then next, you're gonna want to get a regular brush. I'm gonna be using Dip Pen Hard for this, which is gonna be the regular brush. And you want to make sure your width of your brush is the same size of your OC's outline. So you don't want it to be too big or too small. You just want it to be the same exact size of it, or pretty close enough. And you see how our OC's has outlines, but they kind of just stop. We're gonna be making all of them connect to like the root of the hair. So get your OC's outline color, which you should already have, and you just want to make all of your OC's hair sections just connect, and you want all of them on your front hair to kind of like connect to a root of your OC's hair. There you go, so you have all of the parts connected now. And then for the sake of this tutorial, for it to make sense for the later parts of the video, we're going to say that each hair section and hair strand has its own top, middle, and bottom. Trust me, this is going to be important for later on. So the top part of all your hair sections and hair strands will always come from around the root of your OC's hair. That's going to be where all the top comes from. And then all the bottom is going to come from outside of your OC's hair. It's like around. So for our next step, you're going to want to create a new layer, and this time we're going to be setting it to multiply. And then next, you want to get the brush pen fade, and you want to get your OC's outline color. And now we're going to be drawing on the top and bottom of each hair strand and hair section. But I would recommend making your pen the size that can go well, that you can draw on your hair strands with. Because if you have a bigger brush to do this step for your hair sections, you're going to have to be switching in between a smaller and larger brush for your hair sections and your hair strands, since the hair strands are obviously smaller. So I would just recommend getting your pen the size that can go well with you can draw on your hair strands with. Just use that to draw on all of your parts. And we're just going to be drawing on the top and bottom. You want to leave room in the middle of your hair sections, all your hair parts, and you want to make sure that you leave a bigger gap in the middle on your hair strands. You want to do that to every single hair part on your OC's hair. You want to make sure that you leave a gap in the middle of all your hair parts. That's going to be really important. It looks better if you leave a bigger gap instead of a smaller one. And it's perfectly okay if you draw on the lines of your OC's hair. No one's going to notice, and it'll just turn out the same way either way. So don't bother about that. The ends of this little stuff that you're drawing, you don't want it to be flat. You want to give it some shape, kind of like a squiggly shape, like how I'm drawing it. There's also parts on your OC's hair, where you might not be able to see like the top part of the hair section, for example. So you would only draw the bottom part of his hair section. And also, if your OC has like a hair part that is really too small, then you could just color it with only one part, so like only like the bottom or the top, or you could just completely color it in if it's really, really small. Okay, so now your OC's hair should look something like this. And what we're going to do next, we are going to get the smudge tool, and we want to lower the opacity of it to a 30. You don't want to go anything below or anything higher than a 30. And you want to make sure that the size of it is pretty big, like that right there is way too small. So you want to get like a good size. I'd recommend somewhere like around a 7.5. And then we're just going to smudge what we drew. We're going to smudge the top and the bottom towards each other, and we want to make sure that there's still kind of like a gap in the middle. So the darkest parts of it are coming from the top and the bottom, and there's lighter in the middle. And then we're just going to do that through every single hair section that we have. You really want to make sure that your smudge tool isn't anything higher or lower than the 30 for the opacity, or else your edit will come out looking very bad, at least for this part. So you want it to be exactly a 30. And I would recommend the size of it to be around a 7. But if you're working with a bigger back hair, then you can smudge your hair strands first, and then change the size of it to be bigger, so then you can cover a bigger area. So once you have a smudge, it should all look like this. The middle should really be the brightest part, and you're just going to lower the opacity of that layer to around a 50. But if your OC has white hair, then I would recommend making it around a 35. Next, we're going to make a new layer, set it to multiply once again, and then we're just going to be doing the exact same thing that we did on the previous layer, but we are not going to be drawing as much as we did last time. You can think of this layer as the very ends of the top and bottom of your OC's hair section. Alright, so once we're finished, your OC's hair should look something like this. And once again, we're going to be smudging it together, just like what we did on our previous layer. Alright, so now your OC should have a pretty nice gradient, and we're going to be lowering the opacity to a 50 or a 35 if your OC is having white hair. You're going to create a new layer and set it to add this time. Now, we're going to get our regular brush, and we're going to want to set our brush color to the same color of our OC's hair. But if your OC has black hair, then I would recommend using a purple. If your OC has white hair, then I would recommend using a blue. And then I would recommend, once again, getting brush size that matches your hair strands. And then now we're going to be making like a squiggly H on the middle of your OC's hair. So on the lightest parts of your OC's hair, the squiggly H part should be in the middle, and the sides are a little bit longer. So it should look similar to what that is. And then there's also parts like this, where it's your OC's bottom hair, and spoiler alert, but we're going to be smudging it. And it will look like that your OC's highlight color is coming from the middle, which we want. We want it all to be coming from the middle. So now you're just going to do that to every one of your hair sections. You're just going to be adding that little highlight. There we go. Now we have all of our highlights. Like how I mentioned before, if you have any one of these parts where the highlight is coming from the middle, then I would really recommend smudging those first, because if you don't, then it'll just end up being a mess with all your other highlights, and we're just going to be erasing the excess of it. And we're just going to be smudging only the sides of all 8, the longest sides towards the top and the bottom. And then like I mentioned before, if your OC has black hair, then you can use a purple or like a pink, and if your OC has white hair, then you're going to want to use a blue, because this is your OC's highlight color that we're going to be using. And white and black does not work very well as highlight colors, So if you are using white or black, then your OC's hair might start looking like a different color, but it still comes out looking very good. Now that we have our highlight colors, it should look something like that, and we're going to lower the opacity to a 50, unless your OC has black or white hair, then you're going to want to do like a 20. You're going to make a new layer and set it to add, and you're going to want to use a highlight color, and we're just going to make like kind of like a circles in our OC's hair, in like the motion of the bottom half of a regular circle. This is going to be more highlights that we add to our OC, that I think looks really good. And then you can move it any way that you want in the transform perspective mode. I always transform it, so I would really recommend changing it to your liking. And then you only want the circles to be on the top of your OC's hair. Set it to a 50 or whatever your highlight color is. Make a new layer, and we're going to be setting it to multiply. And you want to get your OC's regular outline color. So if you've drawn it on your outlines and you wanted to just make sure you get your regular outline color, you want to turn on your stabilizer to the settings that we've used before. And then where your OC's root of their hair is, you're just going to be like drawing in the direction of their hair strands. You just want to draw in the direction of where their hair parts are coming from. So this will be the darkest part of the root. And then if it looks like your OC has some kind of spider parasite on the top of their hair, then that's good. And then you can change it in the perspective form however you want. You just want it to be in the root of your OC's hair. And then we change the opacity of it to a 50. We're going to make a new layer, and we're setting this one to add. You want to get the brush pen fade again, and you want to get your OC's main color of the original hair color, and you just want to make like a big circle in like the middle of the hair. You're not sure to turn off your stabilizer for now, and you want to blur only the sides of the circle, and you don't want your size of your blurring brush to be too big, because we just want to blur around it. And then you want to erase any of your circle that is not on your OC's hair. So if it got on any of your OC's clothes, or the face, or like your background, then you just want to erase all of it, so then it's only on your hair. There we go, so now it should look like that. And we're going to be lowering the opacity to a 50, or whatever your highlight hair color is. Make a new layer, and we're going to be setting this one to add once again. You want to get your regular brush, and then we're going to be turning on our stabilizer to our settings that we've used every time. And then we're going to, similar to our very first step, we're just going to be making hair strands, but they're going to be all highlight color instead. So have fun with adding your highlights. Don't add too many though. So you should just have a few like that. And then we're going to be making, once again, another layer. We're going to want it to leave it to normal. And we're going to add more hair strands, but this time you want to get the color of wherever your hair strand is coming from. And you just want to add your hair strands like that. Make sure you always get whatever color that your hair strand is coming from, if that makes any sense. There we go, we've added more hair strands. And now we're going to make a new layer, and we're going to set it to add. And you want to get your OC's main hair color again. And we're going to be adding more highlights, but you want to lower the size of your brush, and we're just going to be adding more hair strands like the very first step that we did with adding our hair strands of highlight. There we go, and now we're going to do our second step. We're just going to do that again. So just grab your OC's hair, wherever it's coming from, and then draw hair strands. There we go. And then now we're on our very last step now. You're going to make a new layer, and this is just going to be the very first step that we did. So you're going to want to get your outline fade. It should already have your OC's hair color in that square up there. You want to get your OC's outline color, and you just turn on your stabilizer, which it should already be on. And then you just want to add hair strands like we originally did. They don't need to be too big. And there we go. Our OC's hair is now done. If you try out this tutorial, then you could tag me in a community post or video if you use it. Let me know if it worked for you and how it turned out. I'll be happy to see what it looks like. And if you need any help with it, then just leave a comment. I'll be happy to help with that.